Well, again, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. So we at Sioka want to first welcome all of you joining us live on the Zoom call, as well as those joining on the live stream. Thanks for being here today on this Thursday. Most of you guys probably know, the mission of Sioka Center is to instill an entrepreneurial mindset across campus with an emphasis on providing relevant academic programs and opportunities for interdisciplinary learning. So this first session of Broncos is actually representative of that. So we are happy to have a variety of students here with us today from different disciplines and educational backgrounds. So in terms of being that this is our first Broncos event, I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a background on what it's all about. So it's pretty much focused on bringing current students together with SCU alumni to have an active discussion about topics related to self-actualization or passion projects and the entrepreneurial mindset. So the goal of these sessions is to create a space for an open dialogue, open discussion. So please feel free to speak up and engage. Go ahead and have your videos on, be off mute. This is really just a conversation-focused program. And for those of you on the live stream, we do encourage you to participate in the activity as well. You can go ahead and comment on the discussion board on the live stream, and then we'll be moderating that as well. So with that, we have with us today Jason Khalipa. Jason is an 08 SCU management alum. He's founder of NCFit, which is a global fitness company, and he's also a CrossFit Games champion. He has recently authored the book As Many Reps as Possible, which is focusing on his AMRAP mentality, which is a proven system that will help you discover your why, focus on what you can and can't control, work hard, and ultimately achieve your goals. So before I turn it over to Jason to kind of help guide the discussion along and share some background on the MRAP mentality and how it's impacted his life and his job as an entrepreneur, I thought it may help with kind of guiding this conversation if each of you guys share just a brief elevator pitch, just a couple seconds of who you are, your major, your educational background, and then also what entrepreneurship means to you. So just based on who I have on top, I have Samiha first, so I'm putting you on the spot. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Samiha.
Thanks, Marina. Hi, everyone. My name is Samiha. I'm a senior MIS major, Management Information Systems, and Business Analytics and Entrepreneurship minor. I've grown up in Santa Clara, constantly been surrounded by innovation, so I kind of naturally gravitated towards entrepreneurship, but my perception of entrepreneurship at the beginning of college and now is completely different. And I'm really excited about learning about different perspectives and what the kind of reality is and all of the cool stories that we have. And I'm excited to hear from Jason.
Awesome. Thanks, Miha. Let's see, Stephen, we have you next. How's it going?
Hey, I'm Stephen. I'm a senior computer engineering major with a minor in entrepreneurship. And excuse me. I got first kind of interested in entrepreneurship through my interest in kind of small business related economics and how it relates to my personal life, and just kind of, it was a very interesting topic to me. And so I've kind of got more involved with that, as well as kind of the tech scene of entrepreneurship has definitely been interesting for me to learn. And I'm really excited to learn more today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Let's see, Akansha, I have you next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Akansha. I'm a part of the executive MBA program at Santa Clara. We're surrounded by so much of technology and cool companies here in Silicon Valley that I feel like I can never know enough. Just going through the executive MBA program, I'm starting to kind of think about what's next. I work in the HR space right now as a director for a company called RiseSmart, and have been potentially thinking about opening my own HR consulting firm at some point. So Jason, I've had a chance to hear from you through Andy Wood's Echo Church before. So didn't miss this opportunity. I wanted to make sure I got a chance to hear from you again.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was good.
Awesome. I love the connections. Let's see, Mubashir, we have you next.
Hi guys, my name is Mubashir. I'm a first year computer science major at Santa Clara, and I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship. I have a big goal of starting my own company one day. And so I'm really interested in how entrepreneurship can foster innovation.
Awesome, thank you. Well, Jason's an entrepreneur, so you're in the right place. Let's see, Jessica, you're next.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a finance major in the business school. I'm super passionate about the law and entrepreneurship. I guess entrepreneurship is super important to me because I want to open a business in the future, which is something I'm super passionate about. I don't know what that is yet, so I love listening to other people and what they want to do and what they did with their life.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. I love that passion. Let's see, Brian, I have you next.
All right, I'm Brian. I'm a junior mechanical engineering major with a minor in aerospace. I'm actually not here for entrepreneurship. I'm a high school hockey coach and a big CrossFit fan, so I kind of wanted to pick Jason's brain about a couple of things about that. They offered this opportunity specifically. The honors program reached out and said that we should go, and I was stoked to see that Jason, who I'd been seeing in CrossFit videos forever, was actually going to be talking to us. And so that's why I'm here. I'm super stoked.
Awesome. Love that, Brian. Thank you. We're happy to have you here. Let's see, Katie, I have you next.
Hi guys, I'm Katie. I'm a sophomore at Santa Clara University, and I'm currently undecided in the business school, but I'm thinking about pursuing maybe like a marketing major or even an independent studies major, where I would design my own major. And I'm thinking about minoring in retail studies and studio art. And I'm here because I don't actually know a lot about entrepreneurship at all, but I'm really interested in learning about it because I'm thinking about possibly starting my own business, like way down the line after I've been in the business industry for a little bit. So,
awesome. Thanks, Katie. Let's see, Eleanor, I have you next.
Hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm a junior at Santa Clara and a chemistry major. And I am interested in like learning different techniques of and methods of entrepreneurship and figuring out how to apply them to the sciences and chemistry in general.
Oh, awesome. I love that angle. That's great. Let's see. I think, Shannon, do we have anyone else coming from the waiting room?
Yeah, one more just entered.
Oh, perfect. Hi, Kenji. We just went through introductions, and so we're asking your name and your major and then what entrepreneurship means to you. So if you want to go ahead and go next.
Hi, I'm Kenji. I am an economics and accounting major in my junior year. And entrepreneurship to me really just means finding new solutions to new problems and to really look at the way we're doing things in another way and see how we can continuously do better. This is just a super broad term, but as we learned at the Sioka Center, entrepreneurship doesn't always have to be in the tech space. It can be in the fitness space or just finding new ways to do things better.
Awesome. I love that. Thanks, Kenji. Well, again, thanks to hear from all of you guys. Really appreciate it. And love seeing that we have an interdisciplinary backgrounds, a lot of different academic majors and minors here. So that's great to hear. So with that, I'd love to kind of turn it over to Jason and let him take it from here and give, insight into his AMRAP mentality, as well as, how all of his steps to kind of launch his business. So go ahead, and Jason, if you want to take it on from here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. We've done different things for students at Santa Clara. I've gone there, I've spoken quite a few times. This is pretty cool because it's pretty intimate. But learning from you guys, they are all from different backgrounds, is awesome. You have chemistry and accounting and this and that. And I think there's that similar thread throughout all of us for that entrepreneurial spirit. And I actually like what I want to say it was Katie, if I'm not mistaken, said like she wants to just explore more about what entrepreneurship is. She doesn't even know a lot about it. I could be mistaken if that was you, Katie. It might have been Jessica. But entrepreneurship as you're going through college or high school, it's like kind of like this word that everybody talks about, but no one really defines. And it comes with it a lot of like, ooh, you're an entrepreneur. It's very alluring, especially like in the Bay Area. But entrepreneurship isn't all rainbows and unicorns, and it has a lot of challenges with it. And, originally when I was talking to Marina, she wanted me to talk about the AMRAP mentality, and I'm more than happy to talk about that. But I think what actually might drive more value for you guys is to have a really good, like open, transparent conversation on what it's like to open a business and what it's like to grow that business and the challenges that I've had to overcome. You know, I graduated from Santa Clara University when I was in '08. So whatever age most people graduate from college at, I graduated that age, 21, 22. Directly out of college at Santa Clara, I opened up a small brick and mortar business. Where that's different today is that a lot of people are talking about tech. Now, we expanded into tech over time because of the way it scales and the profitability, and there's a variety of other reasons. But NC Fit, the company that I founded, we started off with brick and mortar, single location, opened up a second, a third, a fourth. And so if you're interested in opening up a storefront, I'm more than happy to share insight on lessons learned. From there, we then expanded into corporate wellness, where we grew globally with different companies like Lucasfilms and Western Digital and GoPro and whoever. We started doing their fitness in all of their companies. Then we started expanding to digital, where we started selling our programs to other gym owners, and that's grown us exponentially. And now we have a license model. So when we're talking about the business of NC Fit, there's a variety of different things we could discuss, right? We have about 150 employees. We could talk about employees. We can talk about brick and mortar. We can talk about digital. But I'm an open book, and I'd love to share with you, because if I could go back 12 years ago and I was sitting in your shoes, I wish someone had explained to me that entrepreneurship isn't as sexy as what everybody thinks. It's not. There's something about it where everybody talks about like, oh, that person's an entrepreneur. But what comes with it is a lot of stress, and you need to make sure that you're not trying to become an entrepreneur just because you think that's what society thinks is cool, but actually because you have the set of skills and the bandwidth and the mindset to want to be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you could be an exceptional something else and very unhappy as an entrepreneur. And we could talk more about that. So Marina, look, I'm more than happy to talk about the AMRAP mentality, because that's what you wanted me to talk about. But I also think it'd be really valuable for the class if we talk about, like, what is it like going from one employee to multiple? How do you manage people? I mean, these are things that textbooks just can't teach you. I don't know. I'm an open book. I just want to add value. I want you guys to walk away and be like, this dude shared some stuff.
No, absolutely. I think I love all those things. I think, does anyone here have any strong opinions on any one thing, or any questions about any of those that we can kind of dive into?
Sure. I have a starting question.
Yeah, go right ahead, Brian.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked with Ben Bergeron in your podcast about how when you were starting up, you wished you had given stronger directions to your employees. Do you think we could talk about, like, specifically, like, more examples of, like, what you mean by that, and how that kind of transitioned from your beginning to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, you went deep if you're looking at the Ben Bergeron podcast. So we have a podcast, obviously. It's very focused on the business side of fitness. And one of the conversations I was having was with another business owner. And if I could look back on if I could give any advice to all of you guys, is knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, and recognizing that each individual that you're going to manage in the future needs to be managed slightly differently. But people want to know what success or failure is. And I didn't do a good job of that in the beginning. So when we opened the business, flying by the seat of your pants, doing whatever you can just to get more people in the door, generate revenue, whatever. But as you gain an employee or two, what occurred was a toxic environment over time for some people sometimes, because I didn't give proper guidance and direction. And an example is, let's just say you hire someone, whether it's for chemistry, accounting, HR. I know there was HR, right? When you hire them, especially when you're new, you hire them under the premise that, like, they're excited to be a part of your organization. But unless you show them clear trajectory and what exactly their role and expectation is, over time, resentment will build, and the relationship will be tough. So what I would recommend is, for anybody who starts out a business, clearly define the roles and expectations for each person in your team, and then have quarterly reviews or hold accountable yourself to actually formally review those people. Because I didn't like being micromanaged. I just like being told, go do this, and I could go do it on my own. but most people actually want some sort of guidance, and that's where I lacked. And once we started putting in clear, concise guidance on what success or failure was, with associated path on how to make more money and career growth, we doubled, we grew exponentially. And so on that note, to your point, Brian, what I would do over again is from the very first day, I would define what roles I needed in the organization. I would define what the expectations were and how their growth trajectory was. And I would meet with them on a reoccurring basis to clearly explain what success was or wasn't, and giving them those guide rails, which I never did.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hopefully that, helps, man.
Yeah.
It's just, everybody has different management styles. And I think that's something you only learn. When I was coming out of Santa Clara, I took a lot of great classes, but classes can only show you certain things. And some of this stuff you guys just have to learn on your own. There's no perfect solution, right? But ultimately, when you're dealing with people, and if we're in the service business, different people want different things. You need to know that. And you can't manage everybody the same way or assume that everybody wants to be managed the way you want to be managed. And that was my mistake from the get-go that I wish I had fixed earlier on.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that not everyone wants to be managed the same way you manage, or that everyone has their own style.
Yeah. And I thought, for example, that, for example, I'd say, hey, I don't know, Jessica, go do this, right? And just let her go. And I don't say anything. I don't talk to her. She just does her thing. That's the way I like to be. I don't want someone breathing down my neck telling me, but a lot of people wanted more, like as of recently, I've had the same struggle where I've gone to our social media person. I've said, hey, Lindsay, we need to be more innovative. And I've told her this like 5 times. And finally, one day she came back to me. She's like, Jason, I don't know what you mean by innovative. And so I can't do what you're saying because you're not giving me clear guidance. And that's an example of something I'm struggling with right now that I need to overcome.
Awesome. Let's see. Go ahead, Stephen.
Excuse me. I just I kind of was curious. You said you started your brick and mortar right out of college. What made you want to do that? And like what was the first step in doing that? Did you say, oh, I'm gonna rent out the space and start my brick and mortar, or were you encouraged by others, or was it you just following your dream? Or just a little bit more insight on that would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a little bit of all of that, right? It's you hear this word passion thrown around a lot, and that's great. And I think it's important to have a passion for whatever you're doing. But if you can't back that up with a foundation, it's tough. And so I started working in the health club when I was really young. When I was 15, 16, I started working at the front desk, then got into sales throughout. I went to West Valley actually for 2 years before I went to Santa Clara for 2 more years, graduated on time. But when I started at West Valley, I went full time at the gym. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to go open up a gym. I knew I did. And that's where I just learned all the ropes. I learned everything I could on somebody else's dime. And for any of you guys that are interested in starting your own business, I would highly recommend to take any resource you can and learn everything you can from them while they're paying you. So like, for example, the manager that I had at the gym, or the owner, I would spend all the time just talking to him. Hey, what's up with the P&Ls? Talk to me about this, talk to me about growth, talk to me about marketing. And so I was going to school at Santa Clara University, but I was also going to school in my job. Said this way, when I knew I wanted to open a business from day one, when that lease starts, man, it gets real. And the more foundation you could build before that, the better. And learning from different people, taking what you like and impart it, put in your business, take what you don't like and get rid of it, was really important. Now, when I opened up the business, it's because I wanted to, at that point, do what I love for a living. I had interviewed for a bunch of jobs. Nothing seemed right. And I knew I had to open up a gym. And signing that first lease was super scary. I opened the business with $5,000. It was super, super grimy. We built a small group, and then I was able to go expand 6 months later. But it's a very different story of entrepreneurship than what you typically hear in the Bay Area, because there was no outside funding. There was no, Series A. It was It was just a grassroots approach. And I still think you could do that today if you wanted to.
Well, thank you.
So, Jason, I don't want this to be the entire point of the conversation, but can you go into a little bit about your AMRAP mentality and just kind of, how it came to be and how you utilize it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so earlier on in my life, 08, 09, I got married pretty early on. I got married in 09. And there was a time in my life that I won the CrossFit Games in 08. I was competing at, it was a worldwide fitness competition called the CrossFit Games. I was competing there for a lot of years, and I had some pretty good success. At the same time, we were building our business, and we had my wife and I had a daughter, and so I was really struggling with how to balance these different priorities in my life, where I was trying to win at the CrossFit Games. I was trying to build I was trying to build a big business, and I was also trying to be the best husband and father I could be. And I found myself just being really crappy, not really crappy, but just being 1 foot in, 1 foot out too often. I'd be on a Zoom, I'd be on a conference call with Asia about a new location we were opening. And then I'd be riding the assault bike, trying to get in my conditioning. And what I found was that I would leave the call or leave the experience. I'd always ask myself if I could have done better. It's like right now, right? I'm fully invested in you guys, and that's all I'm doing. But what I wouldn't want to do is, while I'm talking to you, be on my phone, and then after this call is over, be like, damn, I wonder if I could have said something or could have done something a little bit better for the students, right? And so I wasn't AMRAPing each thing. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out too often. And so what I realized is that I needed to be more present and focused. And I related it to a form of fitness called AMRAP, which is as many reps as possible, where basically if I say to you, hey, go do as many push-ups as you can in a minute, that's all you would do. It's as many reps as possible. You wouldn't be focused on anything else except for that task at hand. And so I started asking myself, how can I take that mindset of being super present and focused on my workout and then translate it into other areas of my life? And that's where the AMRAP mentality came into play, where I would AMRAP a workout, AMRAP business calls, AMRAP school, AMRAP this, and just be present and focused for a specific amount of time and then move on to the next one. And the real kind of thing for you guys to kind of walk away with, if you want something to think about, is that I was just not being productive with my time. I was being really busy, but never really accomplished much. And when I started AMRAPing things, I was actually able to fulfill and finish what I was doing at one time instead of getting 80% there and moving on to something else. I'm not sure if that's happening to you guys at all. But the way that I equate it to is like riding a bike. The first step is the AMRAP is like, if you're riding a bike and you're not focused, you're going to fall over. That's step one. So what do you focus on? I'm focused on you right now. Couldn't be more focused. Step two is I'm going to work hard. I'm going to pedal that bike, right? These are analogies, and I'm working hard. So whatever I'm doing, whether it's a workout, being with you, being with my kids, being with whatever, I'm going to work really hard at that particular time. Then throughout the duration of the day, just like riding my bike, like I was talking about earlier with you, Brian, is I'm going to switch gears. So I'm focused, I'm working hard, and then I switch gears throughout the day to different focuses. That's the main gist of the way the AMRAP mentality works. There's other pieces that are incorporated into it, which I developed like a mindset for a variety of reasons. Like I would compete at the CrossFit Games. I need to learn how to overcome adversity by understanding what was inside and outside my control, which you could talk about. And then my daughter got diagnosed with leukemia, which added a whole nother wrench in the system. I had to learn how to compartmentalize and understand what was in and outside of my control, which we could talk more about. But through the AMRAP mentality, through my life experiences, I've developed a set of mindset skills that have helped me not only in life, but also in business. And those are some of them.
Awesome. So has anyone here kind of been involved with a prioritization system like that before? Or has there been kind of a time in your personal or even your career where you've kind of experienced the need to maybe, with a little foresight, perhaps maybe thinking this AMRAP mentality could have helped you out? Anyone have any experiences like that?
I think I'd say that, we hear of so many different models that are in play, in podcasts and books and lectures and things like that, but it's hard to really consistently put it into practice. right?
Yeah.
With everyone on this call now, we've got school, we've got work, we've got different pressures at home, virtual learning and virtual working out. Everything's become virtual, right? So personally, for me, I think I do struggle with just staying on track. Like Monday to Wednesday goes great. Something happens on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, people ask me all the time, how do you continue? I mean, I'm not perfect at it, right? But it's something I'm readily thinking about is, am I giving my best effort for this given task at this given time? And for me, it's a necessity, right? Because as I'm trying to build the best business I can, be the best father, husband, etc., if I'm not giving my best in those moments, I'm just going to not be reaching my potential. And that's all I'm thinking about. And especially in business, when you guys graduate from school right now, what solidifies success is your grades in A, B, C, D, for example. But when you graduate, there's no one there grading you. You're either reaching your potential or you're not. Like, even if you're getting an A compared to somebody else, if you're not reaching your potential, it's irrelevant. And so for me, that's what I'm constantly thinking about, is that a B isn't just good enough or an A isn't just good enough. It's, am I getting to where I could get to? And by being really present and focused is very, very helpful for that. Yeah, I don't know what you want to talk about, Marina, but I mean, you want to talk about like hiring, firing. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, if I was, you guys.
I'll kind of go, Jason. I know, and I'm going a little bit backwards in the conversation. I know you talked about, you got out of school, you went and started this business. Talk to me a little bit about what has been that journey. Like, as you're scaling, you're going global. What are the failures that you've experienced and what have you learned out of that?
Oh, man. I mean, it's the people.
Sorry, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, from at a high level, at a very, very high level, I wish I had done things earlier on that scaled better. But I don't know if I would have the opportunity to do things that we're doing today unless I had done those things earlier. So here's what I mean. Right now, when we have a brick and mortar location, from a profitability perspective, let's just say it generates 20% return on sales. That would be like net. That's a indicator, right, of success is profitability. But if you go digital, you could have maybe 70% return on sales or maybe even more. You could have huge profitability. And so it scales tremendously because once you put in the work, you can replicate it over and over again, right? Like an app, for example, that we have. Additional users don't cost us any more money, but opening up additional brick and mortar locations, you have to staff it more. There's additional expense, et cetera. I wish I had thought more about how do we scale my abilities in our business earlier on. But at the same time, as you build a digital business, it's hard to build something from nothing. And so from the get-go, having this foundation, this framework, we were able to build off of to now have a digital business. So that's something I think about a lot is, what if I had thought about scaling earlier? Just thought. Other things that I think about is just professionalizing earlier. I really wish I had hired people that were good at things that I wasn't good at earlier, because it would have saved me so much time and effort. I mean, I would stay up so late at night stressing about, charging people's credit cards, making sure the books were on point. And 6 years ago, I'll give you a real life scenario. In 2012, 13, we were doing in the millions of dollars in revenue. And the only way that I knew we were making any money, and I'm not joking, is if the bank account went vertically every month, even a little bit, right? That's the way I thought we were making money. But in hindsight, that was a terrible way to run a business, because there were certain verticals that we were doing well in, other ones weren't. We were paying one person's employee credit cell phone bill that was like $800 a month because no one was paying attention to it. All they needed to do was just change the plan. It would have been $50 a month, but we were overdrafted. It's just, I was so focused on what I wanted to focus on. I should have delegated out earlier and let someone else focus on that. And if I had done that earlier, we would have saved ourselves a lot of headache and heartache.
Jason, I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, sorry about the cell phone. That was random, but
I have a follow-up question to that, also relating to the AMRAP mentality. How do you kind of inspire that in the people around you as you're growing your business and trying to create that support network around you that kind of also has that AMRAP mentality as you go through kind of scaling your business and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question, and ultimately, it's done by showing them. It's done by showing them how much you care, how invested you are in your people, and you can talk about it all the time, like, oh, I care about the culture and I care about people, but it's another thing when they see you step up time and time again. From financially, that's creating incentives, making sure you're treating people right financially, but also just the little things, like getting them a gift for their birthday or sending them, doing all those things I think are important from a culture perspective, but from a AMRAP perspective, it's embodying what you're talking about. So when they're traveling with me to Asia, they see me get up early, grind it out, and be the quote in the rocks mentality, like the hardest worker in the room. And if you could be that and embody that all the time, then you don't really need to talk about it because it just starts to blend off to them. I've never told anybody on our team, our key team, to work harder. That's never been something we have to, because it's ingrained in the culture just by knowing who we are and what we believe in. And because we have a fitness organization, it weeds out some of the people in some sense, because if you're training hard in the gym, you're probably training hard and doing things outside the gym well as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Anyone else have any other follow-up questions?
Yeah. We went internationally. That was interesting, right? Expanding to different languages and cultures, different verticals, license models. I mean, if you guys have a question about anything that pertains to you, maybe in the future, I'm all ears.
I'm curious how, like, I guess, yeah, your growth, right? You started your first in '09, and I'm not particularly familiar with your career path. So how fast did you grow, and was that growth ever too fast, or did you feel that you grew too slow at times? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, no, we definitely grew too fast at one point, and that was a big learning lesson for sure. It's like they call it like the Walmart it's Walmart. When vendors get into Walmart and they grow exponentially and then they can't keep up with inventory and their business just tumbles. That's a issue. So what happened with us is we started off in '08, single location. In 2009, we opened our second location, or maybe even in 2010. So between those first 2 years, we had 2 locations. We were good, right? Then we opened up a third in 2011. From 2011 to 2013, we opened up 14 more. And so what happened is we grew exponentially. We went from 2, 3, where we showed that we could scale a little bit, right? Maybe we had, I don't know, 30 employees, 20 employees, I can't remember. But then we had a big corporate contract come, and they wanted us to go open up 12 additional locations. And they were all over the world: Singapore, Thailand, China, Malaysia. I spent a lot of time traveling, and hindsight's always 2020. This partner of ours did a great job helping us the legal side, and they really supported us. But if I could do it over again, I would do the same thing over again because it helped position us. But I would have thought more about, hey, all this time we're spending in Asia, what detriment is that having to our locations here? Because if things here aren't going well, it's a poor reflection for our overall brand. And I would have spent more time, because what happens is it becomes alluring. You see growth and potential, and you start really driving over here, but it can't be at the expense of what got you that opportunity in the first place. And that's where growing fast became an issue. I should have hired someone and that I really trusted to really hone in on the product here while I focused here, or vice versa would have been a better idea.
Was your business partner in Asia? Is that why, or like why Asia, or why
yes,
particularly?
Yeah, good question. So our biggest client still today, actually, on the corporate wellness side, is Western Digital, and they have all their manufacturing locations. So like, for example, right now, currently we have 3 locations in Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and I spent quite a bit of time out there, pre-COVID. But yeah, we run and operate the gyms over there, and so that's why they're in Asia.
Jason, how is your business keeping up with COVID? What are the impacts that you're feeling, good, bad, and what does that mean? What's next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from a brick and mortar perspective, our business is down for sure. We took a little bit of a different approach, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. You guys will have to do a case study on it one day. What happened is when all the COVID stuff happened in the Bay Area, let's just say, we have quite a few members, right, in the thousands. And when COVID hit, we really sat down as a leadership team and said, what are we going to do, right? Should we keep charging them their membership fee and have them cancel it? Or should we put everybody on hold? And this was a really big dilemma, right? Because if you put everybody on hold, you put the customer first, right? If you put everybody on hold, the customer experience is first. And they aren't receiving the same experience that they had paid for. So why would they continue to pay for the same thing, right? That's the side. The other side is you take your revenue and you just plummet it and you just wait for people to cancel because they would need to cancel anyways. And so we chose to put all members on hold, and we gave them 3 options. Option A, just put your membership on hold. Option B, pay $40 a month for just our digital products. Or option C, keep paying and we will refund you that in credits once we reopen. Now, no one really knew it would take 7 months to reopen, but the point being is that was the approach we took going into COVID. So it was customer first was our approach. And number 2 was always looking at the state and local guidelines and never imparting our own personal perception on that ever. So, there's some gyms that closed preemptively. We didn't. There's some gyms that opened early. We didn't. We opened and closed when the state was telling us we could, so that this way we're unbiased, because members can then look to us as, okay, they're just abiding by state and local guidelines. But our digital business is up and our brick and mortar business is down, and we're rebuilding it.
So in some sense, you did great, because you have the brick and mortar, you have the digital side, and then you have the licensing agreements. You've kind of got revenue streams built up to keep you afloat.
Yes, we have brick and mortar, we have digital, we have license, and we have corporate wellness. And then we have e-commerce too, right? So, we have a lot of different verticals that have helped us. But also PPP money came into play. And so that's a whole nother discussion we could talk about. But the government, at least in the beginning, did support small business if you knew how to handle it. There's a lot of businesses that didn't have their financials locked in, didn't have the right people to be able to do the numbers, that might not be able to take advantage. Luckily, we were able to take advantage of some of the government support that then fed back into our business to support our employees.
In your conversation with Savan, you talked about your new partnership program.
Yeah.
How is that doing?
Good. Yeah. So again, I don't know how much this pertains to you guys, but we owned gyms, and then we started rolling out our programs to other gyms. About 1,000 gyms, right? We're using our programs. And there was a stronger demand from these gyms that are using our programs to dive deeper with our brand. They wanted to align with us more. And so we rolled out a license model so that they could use our likeness of our mark, that NC Fit mark, while still also incorporating the programs that we were offering. So it's 2 separate things. Programs we're offering plus mark. They now could license our mark, which gives them business tools and all sort of stuff. We have, it's good. Our goal of we rolled it out about 2 months ago. Our goal was 100 by the end of the year, and we're at 92 right now. So I'm hoping that in the next 2 months, we'll be able to surpass that goal.
I did kind of want to go back to you moving to digital in a way. So with a lot of people moving to digital and, so much competition out there, I'm wondering what you think your competitive advantage is for NC Fit and how you differentiate.
Yeah, it comes down to the brand and the product. And I think that a lot of people, look, anybody could go out there and go spend $100,000 on paid ads on Instagram, Facebook, Google AdWords. But that's fine. But you'll get business for sure. You'll get business because the algorithms, you'll get business. But how sticky will that business be? And so what we're really trying to do is foster this sense of identity, this culture, this NC Fit, the brand means more to some people than just some other random thing they see on the internet. And so we need to do that by telling our stories, testimonials, deeply ingraining it. And we start there with like authentic and messaging. And then we use social paid ads in the future to go expand that. And so I think that a business that is predicated on just trying to do paid ads, maybe if it's a really cheap product, you can get away with it. But if it's something that's reoccurring monthly revenue, you need them to be bought in more than just some random click that they did on the internet. And that's what we're working on right now, a lot of.
Got it. Great. Anyone else have any other questions?
Sure. I have one about your book, actually. So
Yeah.
I read it during quarantine, and then I picked it back up again last week when I found out they were hosting this. And there was always something that kind of stuck with me. You talked about how if you find yourself in the position where your thoughts are consumed by what was or what could be, you need to snap out of it and fast. So
Yeah.
I lost my stepdad to stage 4 cancer last fall. And so it's always kind of been like what was and what could have been. It's always like playing in the back of my head. And I'm just curious to know, because that's the end there. You jump to another point. And you didn't talk about that more. And I was curious to know if you would talk about that more.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm sorry to hear about your stepfather. When I think about that, what was or what could be, it takes you away from the present and what you could do that's in your control. And so a really good lesson that I took away, and this was something that Marina and I were talking about earlier, is this idea of understanding what's in your control and out of your control, especially right now. With everything politicized and tensions are high and COVID, there's just so many things that could throw you off of what you actually want to accomplish. And for a lot of years when I was competing at the high level in CrossFit, I would focus on things that were out of my control, and they created a lot of anxiety for me. This one event, I ended up passing out. And after that, I went and worked with a sports therapist that taught me a bunch of lessons. And one of them in particular was just taking 2 circles and putting on a piece of paper and taking all the things that were in my control and putting them on the left, taking all the things that were out of my control, putting them on the right, and choosing to focus on the things that were in the circle on the left. Identifying something that stressed you out. Let's just say it's school.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's in my control? Okay, it's study better, this, that. For me, it was competition. What I was focused on was, what are my competitors going to do? What are the workouts going to be? And those things really stressed me out. When I started focusing on things like, what does my nutrition look like? What does my training protocol go? Things that I can control, it relieved a lot of the stress for me, and it was beneficial tenfold. Transferring that into real life is really what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
What was, what could be, those are really difficult questions to answer because they could allow your brain to go into so many different directions, but ultimately honing in on what's in my control now and how do I align with that. And, the best example is like when my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia, it was really, really easy to get in this trap of thinking why her, there's so many ways your brain can go in so many different directions. But if we can instead take it, what's in our control, taking good care of her, doing this, doing that, it just makes you a lot more at calm. And so when it comes to your stepfather and when it comes to this situation in particular, it's what is in my control today? How do I stay positive in a positive mindset and then be present and focus on what I want to do now? Because the past is the past. You just need to learn from it was kind of like where I go from what I'm thinking about. And each person needs to find their own clarity there.
That was the 09 trail run, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for sharing that. On the mindset topic, something that we're always told a lot about, like in entrepreneurship classes and workshops, is to find your why. And I'm curious as to what your why was when you started out and if it's changed over time and kind of your vision for the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I mean, you could, I'm actually listening. I already listened to the audiobook, Start With Why, I think it's called. But I think ultimately it's like you want to build a business that's founded on something more than just making money. And I think I learned that through CrossFit Games. So you go there and you want to, let's just say you want to make money or become famous. Okay, cool. But when things get really, really tough, you need to rely on something deeper than money and fame because those things are surface level compared to something deeper. And so I took that same mentality into our business. Money doesn't come quick and success in your business doesn't happen overnight. It takes long-term dedication. And so recognizing what is the big purpose of why you want to start a business in the first place, I think is a really important topic. And if you don't have one, you probably shouldn't do it. Like for me, when we started out, I wanted to provide for my family doing what I love for a living. Started there. Then provide for as many coaches as humanly possible so that if I'm doing what I love, they're doing what they love, we're all winning. And then we get to help as many members as possible who who now can live a more fulfilling, fit lifestyle, right? And if I could stay true to that mission, that is perfect in alignment with our license model and different things we're doing, because I want to provide opportunities for owners and coaches to do what they love and then support as many members as possible. With that big group, we could then go do really cool stuff for philanthropic efforts. That was my why. That still is. That's my big vision of the business. How do I grow the largest audience possible through owners, coaches, and athletes to then build up this network where we can go do cool things like blood drives, philanthropic efforts, building schools, you name it. You know, because entrepreneurship isn't easy. You know, I've had days where you feel lonely, you feel like all the stress is on you, and you need to surround yourself with like-minded people who could help you in that sense, because it will feel lonely at times. You will. But that's what you're signing up for. And you need to know that going into entrepreneurship, that if you want to be the quote boss, with that comes a lot of responsibility. One of the biggest ones being decision-making. So a lot of people want to be the decision maker, but man, sometimes it doesn't feel that good to be the decision maker. Sometimes it feels better to be told, hey, this is the direction we're going. But if you don't feel comfortable making very difficult positions and decisions, entrepreneurship is going to be very tough for you. Back to the conversation I just had about the memberships. That's a big ass conversation. Give everybody basically hold no revenue or keep charging. And that's an example of a tough discussion that you're going to have within yourself.
Thanks, Jason.
So I got a question kind of about the mindset, and it kind of touched on what you were talking about with the challenges of entrepreneurship. So with your mindset, you're saying, you know, focus on this 100% effort in this particular thing that's right in front of me. How do you handle, you know, the case where that thing in front of you is something that's extremely challenging and or something you just don't want to do? And do you feel like maybe your background as like an athlete has kind of helped you do that because you're kind of more familiar with pushing yourself through, you know, the next rep and you know, just pushing through what needs to get done?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately one of those situations where you need to get comfortable with adversity and overcoming it. I think that we're creating a culture where people are adverse to adversity. They don't want to get uncomfortable. And I think that's really shame. It's really unfortunate because we're in such a comfortable environment all the time. We are warm. We get to where we never have any adversity, right? Extreme heat, extreme cold, that's taken care of. Having a cell phone at the beck of our call anytime, being able to have, you know, and so all of a sudden adversity hits or something challenging happens and we don't know how to handle it. One way we could do that in a healthy way is through exercise, right? You go out there, you're out on your run, you break that kind of mental barrier where you want to go an extra 2 minutes and you do it. Then all of a sudden you take that same mindset you just took in your workout and you bring it into the things back that are struggling with you at school or at home or whatever it is. But I think the idea that we don't expose ourselves to challenges or adversity often enough, I do think is going to be very challenging for some people over time, because ultimately this world can come and it's not always easy. And the more that we could build up that calloused hand approach through fitness or other things, the better off I think we're going to be when it actually applies to real life experiences. So I would encourage you to use fitness as an outlet because it could build up that adversity. It could build up that callus without, you know, major pros and cons. You know, it's just a workout. Like, but you could mentally push through it.
All right, thanks.
Jason, we have a question from the chat. They kind of want you to go a little bit more in depth on your international partnership and any advice you would give to a new young entrepreneur in doing business internationally or globally.
So international business is it's not domestic business. It's different. And what comes with it that's different is obviously a language barrier. That's really important. Different rules and guidelines, legal implications, I think are really important to explore. But the biggest difference is that just from a cultural perspective, I would highly recommend that anyone who goes and does business internationally explores the culture before deep diving into business in that area. What I mean by that is if you're going to go expand into Malaysia or China or Singapore or any other country, go out there for a little bit and go meet the culture, go understand it, go see the way they do business in a low-key environment before you try and start doing big deals. Because, for example, in China, They do business vastly different than we do here in the United States. And they do business in Malaysia much different than we do here. Aside from that, obviously you have all the social norms, right? How you hand business cards, how you do this. Those things you can find out online. But what you can't find out online is the overall vibe, how things go. Do you chit chat for 20 minutes before you talk business? Do you not? Do you go into it? And so I would recommend going out to those countries, spending a little bit of time before you start diving deep into the business with them. That's the best answer I got. I mean, yeah.
That's great.
I mean, I'll give you a really good example. We were waiting for a deal to occur in Malaysia, and I flew to Malaysia for the night, and then I flew back just to have dinner with someone because I knew how important face-to-face conversations were, not only in our culture but also in their culture. And I only would have known that had I spent more time out there.
Awesome. No, that's great. I'm sure that answered the question. So thank you. Let's see. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I'm trying to be sensitive of time in class and everything like that. So does anyone else have any other questions?
Sure. I have a quick one.
Yeah.
Do you miss competing at the highest level? Do you miss competing?
Yeah, yes, I do. But priorities shift as life goes on, right? There was a time in my life that all I thought about was winning the CrossFit Games. And when the business grew, my family grew, Ava got sick, those priorities shifted and they needed to. And if they didn't, then that's an issue for me that I need to overcome. And so I although I miss it and I was a great time in my life, I don't regret the pivots I've made since then because they were required for me to grow. And now I still compete on a regular basis, just in different ways. I compete in business on a regular basis. I compete in jiu-jitsu. I go out and at our gyms and I compete with people. I just don't dedicate my life to being the fittest person on the planet. That's not my goal right now. It's to build a really a really awesome business and support a lot of people. That's the goal.
Thank you.
I have one final question, kind of relating back to your time at Santa Clara and your time as a Santa Clara student and the mindset you were in. What is one piece of advice you'd give yourself, kind of sitting like the Jason that was sitting in our shoes back then?
I would have explored more, had more of an open mind. I think what I did at Santa Clara was I would go there and just check the box. I would go there, I would go to class, it'd be cool, leave, go do another class, do that, get an A, get a B, whatever. But what I didn't realize is school, although it's a framework to kind of learn how to work with others and build a foundation of education, it's also a really beautiful time that you could explore and educate yourself. So when you do graduate, you could be in a better position to be successful at whatever you want to do. I would have spent more time saying to myself, okay, what do I want to be successful at? I want to do this. And I would have just explored everything possible as school had to offer, but also outside the school. Because right now your stress level is I assume a lot of you guys think your stress levels are high. I'm sure they are, right? But as soon as you graduate and you go out and you get a job and then you want to open a business, your stress levels are going to go extremely high because now you have payroll and you have rent and you have all these different things. So what could I have done during my 4 years in college to put myself in a better position that when I graduated, I would be in a more dominant position, whether I'm working for somebody else or owning my own business? I would have explored more of that instead of just looking at school as like this check the box thing so I could just have it on my resume, and I was doing more stuff outside of that.
So I do have kind of one more final question for you, Jason, kind of put you on the spot. So for those of you who are on this call today and are maybe questioning whether you want to start a business or whether you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm wondering, Jason, if you can kind of give us a quick pitch for why you think people should be entrepreneurs.
I think that entrepreneurship is the greatest. Entrepreneurship is a foundation of society, right? Creative ideas, innovation, pushing the envelope. And I think that it's incredibly important to have entrepreneurs. And I would encourage all of you to explore it, but not to be defined by it. So if you aren't cut out to be an entrepreneur, it's okay. There are plenty of people that I know who chose to go the entrepreneurship route, but recognize that it wasn't designed for them. And that's okay. Although I think entrepreneurship is a great gift, and to be able to go be your own boss and be in control of your own destiny is incredibly valuable, it's not for everyone. And don't feel like you have to do that to be successful. There's plenty of other people who aren't entrepreneurs who are very successful in their own right, especially aligning themselves with people that have skills that you don't have. So yes, if you feel like you want to be an entrepreneur, if you feel like you like taking on risks, being innovative and managing and, kind of having a clear vision of what you want to do, go out there and go get it. It's not going to be easy, but don't feel like you have to do that to be successful, because there's a lot of people who are very successful who aren't entrepreneurs.
Awesome. I love that. Anyone else have any other questions? If not, hopefully Jason just talked you all into being entrepreneurs, or at least being friends with people who are. So thank you guys all for your time and for joining us today. And a big thank you to Jason. We love having our alumni come back, especially those with great backgrounds and experiences like you. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you guys, some of you, on November 10th for our next Broncos actually event.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jason.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.